What is going on, everybody? Welcome to Mock Draft 3.0. My goodness, am I excited for this mock draft. I firmly believe this is some of my best work. I just think we've got some great fits here. This is all going to fall in line with my board. This is a what I would do mock, just like all of my other mock drafts. Before we do start though, please guys, please like the video. If you want to support my channel, it's the easiest way to do it. It helps generate views and everything we need here. And also, please don't dislike the video because you don't like who I went with for your team. Let me know in the comments why you disagree, but please do not dislike the video. It actually does impact my livelihood when you do that. I don't hate anyone's team. This is me pretending I'm at the GM seat of every NFL team, drafting off my personal draft board. So I'm not, just sliding a pick in there because I have any vengeance against any team. I'm genuinely trying to make the best pick for every team. You might not agree with it, but please do like the video and do not dislike it. So let's start this thing off with Arizona number 1. Now, I'm not going to sit here and take time out of this video to tell you that if you thought Kyler Murray was going to play baseball back in January when I first mocked Kyler Murray, I think January 6th was when I released my first mock, Kyler Murray first overall to the Arizona Cardinals. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that you were wrong, that there's no chance in hell he wanted to ride school buses for 2 years before maybe playing in front of a few thousand fans for the Oakland A's. I'm not going to tell you that he really honestly should have been considered the number 1 overall pick all along. I'm not going to tell you that Josh Rosen's now deleted his Instagram, connections to the Cardinals and then claimed he was hacked, and that Cliff Kingsbury is telling everyone that he's going to take Kyler Murray first overall now, and that Kyler Murray is just a better player than Josh Rosen, and that he's everything that the Cardinals need. I'm not going to sit here and toot my own horn like that. I'm just going to put Kyler Murray here first overall like we've been doing since January 4th and carry on. And we'll figure out what we're going to do with Josh Rosen later in this draft. Plenty of opportunities to trade Josh Rosen away. So then number 2, the San Francisco 49ers are just popping champagne because they're going to get Nick Bosa here. They might think about Quinnen Williams, who absolutely, turned some heads at the combine. They might think about Josh Allen, even though personally Josh Allen I think is best suited to play as a 3-4 guy. He can play 4-3-M, but I think his skill set is most capitalized when you can take advantage of his ability in coverage. So for the 49ers, it really is a no-brainer here. Nick Bosa, they're gonna move Solomon Thomas inside where he should have been playing all along. I think Solomon Thomas with DeForest Buckner is gonna have kind of a breakout year, especially with Nick Bosa here now. 49ers, man, I've been saying it for a couple months now, 45-1 to win the Super Bowl. I've already got my bets down. I'm a big Jimmy Garoppolo guy as well. So the 49ers looking for a fast turnaround here. And then number 3, the New York Jets. Now, they are definitely a team that could think about trading down, absolutely. But with how impressive Quinnen Williams was physically at the combine, you pair that with his tape and frankly a need here. So you're going to have the Williams brothers here in New York now with Leonard Williams and Quinnen Williams. They're just going to be a mess to block, and you really have something to build around for that defense. And then you'll be able to address wide receiver early in. Actually, do they have their second round pick? I always forget. But, round 2 and 3, wide receiver is very deep. They should be able to help out that position there. And then number 4, the Oakland Raiders sitting here. And I've been saying now that Oakland, you just got to go best player available. You need running back, you need wide receiver, you need tight end, you need some tackles. You frankly kind of need a quarterback. You need edge players, you need linebackers, corners, safeties, everything. This is the worst roster in the NFL, and I don't think it's all that close. The problem here is the value in this draft is either with Dwayne Haskins sitting there and a team potentially looking to trade up, or at defensive tackle at Oliver. I have 4 blue chip, top 4 picks in this class. The 3 guys that just went and Ed Oliver. And Ed Oliver could come in here and be great, but you've got some guys that you drafted last year. If there is a strength of this Oakland team, it is interior, and there's value here to move down. So we're actually going to move down here with a team looking to move up and get ahead of the Giants, get ahead of Jacksonville, and jump them to take Dwayne Haskins. So it's going to be the Cincinnati Bengals actually moving up. New head coach, going to want a new regime there at quarterback. Doesn't even necessarily have to start right away if he doesn't win that job. He's an Ohio boy, so he's going to stay there in Cincinnati. You're going to give up your future first-round pick to come up here to 4 and get Dwayne Haskins. And then number 5, Tampa Bay. Definitely a spot where you want to trade down. Now the value here is at D tackle with Ed Oliver, or at linebacker, honestly, with Devin White. Well, that's the strength of this Tampa Bay team. They went Vita Vea last year. You still got Gerald McCoy. Those linebackers are really good. I know you might lose Quan Alexander, but I don't think you're taking a linebacker there at 5 if you're Tampa. But I just couldn't really think of a good trade-up partner for them. It just the value that a team would have to give up to move up and get there, I just didn't quite find a situation where it would make sense. You know, I want to make realistic trades here, and I just don't see a true partner here for Tampa Bay. So they're going to have to just settle and take the pick, and we're actually going to go with Jonah Williams. Sometimes these really good offensive lineman prospects, we've seen it a couple years ago, they just kind of slide in here in the top 6. It's not a flashy pick, but it is a huge need for Tampa Bay. Whether he steps out and plays tackle, I know their left tackle is set to be a free agent, not sure if he's going to be back, but he can play guard as well. Tampa Bay just needs to get more physical on offense. They have the receivers. You would think they have the quarterback right now with Jameis Winston. So this is just a much needed piece for this offense to help click a little more. Somewhat reminiscent of the Colts going with Quentin Nelson last year, just not quite to that degree, but kind of trying to follow that formula here for Tampa Bay. So next up, we've got the New York Giants at number 6. Slam dunk pick here, Ed Oliver. Now the Giants have needs at offensive line. Well, Jonah Williams is gone now. They do need a quarterback, but Dwayne Haskins is gone. So the value here is Ed Oliver. This team needs to start at some point getting some stars on that defense, and this is a great place to start with a player that I think is somehow being slept on right now. I think Ed Oliver in other drafts could very well be a number 1 overall prospect. I think he is going to be an incredible player, something short of Aaron Donald, honestly. So the Giants kind of following suit with the other New York team and just having a superstar player fall to them at number 6. And then number 7, the Jacksonville Jaguars. They're in a bit of a tough spot here. The value here is at Devin White, maybe at cornerback. Well, linebacker and corner is the strength of this team. Jacksonville needs wide receivers. The value's not quite there yet. I don't truly believe in DK Metcalf at 7 when you can get draft value and still move down and get a player of similar value later. And they just don't need corner or linebacker. So they're going to look for a partner. I did find one here in the middle of the first round, Atlanta, a team that has proved that they are willing to be aggressive, a team that recognizes the importance of speed at linebacker, a team that has seen success in moving a future first-round pick to move up and get a superstar player like Julio Jones. And they've seen the Saints try to do a similar thing last year within their own division. You could say that's not important, but I do think teams think about that kind of stuff. They look at how other teams in their division are approaching their strategies and try to keep pace. So Atlanta, also a team that is kind of a player away from having a loaded roster. It's not like some of these other teams that have so many holes that they're not going to, move a bunch of capital to go and get one player. Well, I think Atlanta is in more of a position to do that than a team like maybe Green Bay or Carolina, Denver, Oakland, who are right behind them. So I kind of hinted at this. Atlanta is going to move up and take Devin White, pair him with Deion Jones, the other LSU star linebacker, and just try throwing screens and throwing short to intermediate against this fast Atlanta defense. I think this is a team that's going to recognize what a guy like Devin White can do for this defense. We saw a pretty big drop-off in the play of that defense when Jones got injured. And you pair those two together, you put Devin White, who does need to still be coached up as a young player, you put him there next to Deion Jones, who can coach him up, and oh my God, this is going to be a home run move for Atlanta. You do have to give up your first round next year, but in reality, this should be a playoff team this year, and that's not going to be a super early pick that you're giving up. So that's a great move up there for Atlanta, and then Jacksonville still able to pick in the top 14 and look at some good prospects later, which we'll get to. So Detroit here at number 8. This has been a pick I've been doing all the way back to January, which at the time was a little crazier than it is now after this player just killed it at the combine, really reminding us of that elite size speed combination. Rashan Gary out of Michigan, kind of like a Trey Flowers type, can play 4-3 end, 4-3 tackle. I think Matt Patricia is going to want that scheme fit from Rashan Gary. It's a big reason I go with him over Josh Allen, who I personally see as more of an off-ball or a 3-4 edge outside linebacker. I think Josh Allen is a great player in his own right, but I just think Rashan Gary is the better fit here. I think this is the type of player that Matt Patricia is going to want to bring in and coach up. It's not all about college production, guys. I get that Josh Allen had like 4 times more sacks than Rashan Gary in his final season. But you talk about traits, coachability, upside, scheme fit. It's a match made in heaven here for Detroit. It's also a need. It's one of my favorite picks in this entire class and one that I would genuinely make myself, despite the excitement surrounding a guy like Josh Allen. So the number 9, the Buffalo Bills. Now you could think about Josh Allen here, but this defense is pretty solid. It's sort of a need there, edge rusher, and you could never have enough pass rush. It's a 4-3 scheme, again, kind of reiterating some of those things with Josh Allen. So you could certainly think about that there. Buffalo just in general, though, needs offensive talent. And the offensive talent in this draft is, value-wise, probably 10 picks later. But again, I just don't know if there's a team that's going to want to move up here. Someone might want to move up for Josh Allen. I think it would have to be a 3-4 team. Well, Green Bay is picking pretty soon. And I just don't see them getting aggressive like that. Washington isn't going to make an all-in move like that with the questions around their quarterback situation. Tennessee, but they're all the way down there at 19. I don't know if they would give up the capital it would take for them to go up and make this move. And for Buffalo, I don't know if it makes sense to trade down and sell this pick for less than it's worth. You know, I'm not just acting as the Buffalo Bills, I'm acting as all 32 teams. So I'm not going to make a trade up if I don't think it makes sense for that team. So Buffalo's going to end up staying put here. I thought about DK Metcalf, a little too risky for my blood at 9. So we're going to go with TJ Hockenson. So the first offensive weapon off the board. I've got Hockenson and Fant very close right now, but Hawkinson's the guy that can block. He's going to be more of a comparison to like Hunter Henry or even Rob Gronkowski. I love that he played in Iowa. He's not going to, be uncomfortable coming up to Buffalo in the cold weather. If you go back to Josh Allen as well at Wyoming, his second season there, his second to last season there, he had a guy named Jacob Hollister who was a fantastic big weapon for him at Wyoming, and that's when he had some of his best games, was when he had that big tight end threat to use that big catch radius, almost like we saw with Cam Newton when he had Kelvin Benjamin. There's something to be said about 2 just massive, physically impressive people connected on passes. And he's also going to help in the run game, which is big for Buffalo because they got to get back to running the football effectively. So it might be a bit of a reach, but Hockenson is frankly one of the best tight end prospects I've ever evaluated. He's right up there with O.J. Howard, honestly, who I loved a few years ago. So it might be a reach, but he is a fantastic fit here for Buffalo. And then number 10, the Denver Broncos, who I did actually think about moving up for that number 7 pick with Jacksonville to take Devin White, because that would be a fantastic fit here. Now, you bring in Joe Flacco, and I can tell you right now, this thing is not going to work without an improved offensive line. So Andre Dillard, one of the most refined and athletically gifted pass protectors that have come out in the college ranks, in a long, long time, certainly in 3-4 years, maybe since like Taylor Lewan. Not an elite run blocker at this point, but could get there. He's got all the physical ability. So Dillard can come in, he can play right tackle, left tackle if you want to move Garrett Bowles. And this team clearly is trying to milk this window out and win with Joe Flacco, while getting a top-notch pass-protecting tackle with the lack of mobility in Joe Flacco. It is the step towards doing that. It's also going to help develop those receivers that you invested in last year, so it's also an investment in them. Can also hopefully just make this a better surrounding offensive core in general, so you can stop missing on quarterbacks when you draft them. So the number 11, Oakland, who traded down from 4, is just ecstatic here to get Josh Allen, who they'd probably be thinking about there at number 4. And this is one of my big takes this year, is Josh Allen falling into this 8 to 12 range. It comes down to scheme fit, team need, where the depth is in this draft. You know, we've had some offensive linemen go, some quarterbacks go. So it's not so much a reflection of Josh Allen, you know, being a bad player or anything. I think he's a fantastic player. I'm personally just not as high on him. You know, time will tell where NFL GMs see him. I don't see a fully well-versed pass rushing skill set in Josh Allen. He's a physical freak. He is fantastic in coverage. He can string together some pass rush moves, but he's not like a Nick Bosa, who is a refined pass rusher. The biggest thing that I don't understand in this entire draft process is why people are comparing him to Khalil Mack. My comparison for Josh Allen is Anthony Barr, coming out of college, who was, if you remember, actually an edge rush prospect who the Vikings took and converted to off-ball linebacker. But regardless, Oakland just has to go best player available at these picks, and to get Josh Allen here at 11 is a great pick for them. And then Green Bay at number 12, would have loved to see Josh Allen fall to them. Edge rush at outside linebacker is a big need for this team. But the value here now all of a sudden shifts to cornerback with Greedy Williams, Byron Murphy. After watching the combine today, it has become pretty clear for me that if you want a corner, you're going to have to take him early, because there's a pretty big drop-off after Murphy and then DeAndre Baker, and then after Baker, I don't see any first-round prospects. Free agency is also very thin for corner. Now, corner isn't actually a huge need here for Green Bay. You could get by without taking a corner here, but the fact of the matter is, I don't see the value here in edge. I don't see the value here at linebacker or defensive tackle, or frankly, any other position. And Green Bay, how often are they going to be picking in the top 12 again in a very top-heavy draft class? Well, with Aaron Rodgers, probably not going to happen. So I don't think you want to trade down if you're Green Bay. I think you want to take a blue-chip defensive player if you can. So for me, you take Greedy Williams, a longer, lengthier corner, to pair with Jaire Alexander, who is a little short and quick. All of a sudden, you've got a duo of corners. Hopefully can also help develop Josh Jackson there in the slot. And, you know, Kevin King, if you get anything from him, it's house money. And maybe you can move Josh Jackson to safety if Kevin King can stay healthy. But you can never have enough corners, in my opinion. This Green Bay team has learned that the hard way. They have just been derailed by injuries year after year after year. And I really think Greedy Williams and Jaire Alexander is a hell of a duo to build around moving forward if you can't get a Josh Allen here, or a Devin White, or Jonah Williams. So then number 13, the Miami Dolphins. We're going to trade down here. I've got a nice plan here for the Dolphins that we'll talk about at number 25, because they are going to move down with the Philadelphia Eagles, who are also going to kind of follow suit with what the Falcons did, trade a future first-round pick to come up here to 13 and select Byron Murphy. I just mentioned how if you need corners, you better take them early. Well, the Eagles are going to lose Ronald Darby. They cannot afford to pay him, but they really need corner help. Avonte Maddox is a really nice player, but they need other players around him. Byron Murphy is such a stud for me. Was a little disappointed in him running in the 4.5s. I thought he'd be in the 4.3 range and cement himself as like a top 8 pick. So that upside comes down just a little bit, but he is so smooth. His technique is some of the best you'll see for a corner coming out. Ball skills, elite. He will play run defense. I think Philly is going to have their eyes set on Byron Murphy, and they don't want to sit around and wait and hope that he magically falls to them at 25. So they're going to move up and get their corner. It's a loaded roster. They can survive without that first-round pick in the future. This is a team that has also proved a willingness to be aggressive. So they're going to do that here. And then number 14, Jacksonville, who traded down. This is where we're going to take DK Metcalf. Took the world by storm with that 40 time. I still think he's a little stiff. I've got a bias against Ole Miss players in general. I think big-time players that come out of that program lack a certain professionalism to them. I have nothing against DK Metcalf personally. He actually seems like a pretty good dude. My biggest concern would probably be that 3-cone score, playing at that size. Can he turn around and track the ball? Can he run precise routes? That would be my concern for him. But Jacksonville, they have some shorter, quicker dudes. D.D. Westbrook, Marquise Lee. It looks like they're going to bring Nick Foles in here, so DK Metcalf can be kind of that Alshon Jeffrey who Nick Foles was very comfortable throwing to, or Zach Ertz as well. That big target for Nick Foles. So just a high-risk, high-reward pick here for Jacksonville. But if he pans out, that is a hell of a pick there at 14. And the number 15, Brian Burns, now has become a first-round prospect for me after seeing him weigh in at 249 and then still move as well as he looked on tape, which was a big thing for me. He's really fast, but if he was playing at 235 in college, could he still move like that if he gained 15 pounds? Well, he proved me wrong. I do think a 3-4 team is going to value him better because of those movement skills. So here's Washington. Probably going to lose Preston Smith. Who knows how much longer Ryan Kerrigan's going to play, so you get a big need filled here with Brian Burns. This defense is going to be back and be tenacious. It is what made this team competitive this year, was a feisty, fast, aggressive defense. Brian Burns can be another great piece there. He complements Kerrigan well, as Kerrigan can be a little more of a power guy. And the other plus side is Burns might need a little more time to develop. He's still young, true junior coming out, going to learn how to play at this weight now. Washington's probably not going to compete next year given the quarterback situation. But by the time you're ready in a year or two to be competitive again, you're going to potentially have an elite edge rusher here in Brian Burns, who has as much upside on the edge as any player in this class. And then number 16, the Carolina Panthers. A bit of a forgotten player here, a guy that was never going to wow people at the combine. He's a bit of a tweener, and his tape is much more appealing than himself as an athlete, but it's Zach Allen. Personally, I think Zach Allen is the most technically refined player in this class at any position. I don't say that lightly. Off the edge, he can bring you some power. He actually has some bend for a bigger guy. He will swap balls. He has great awareness in the run game. He will even drop into coverage and do some nice things. It's hard to say that he's going to be J.J. Watt because J.J. Watt is a special player, but as a prospect coming out, he is not that much different than J.J. Watt. J.J. Watt may be a little more physically gifted. As far as the skill set is concerned and what they bring to the table, Zach Allen has it all, and it's exactly what Carolina needs here. That 4-3 scheme, which is, you got to be a 4-3 team if you're taking Zach Allen. Julius Peppers hanging it up. They need someone on the edge to contribute here. They got to get back to having a good pass rush, and Zach Allen is that guy for me. And the number 17 here, the Cleveland Browns. Tackle, a popular pick here. All reports are this team has no interest in going tackle in the first round. We'll see how that plays out. That's where I've been picking them in the last couple mocks. But we will go with another huge need for this team, and it is edge rush. I'm done waiting around on Emmanuel Ogbah to become a starting caliber player. He's fine. But when a guy like Clelin Ferrell, who is a refined pass rusher, he doesn't have the highest ceiling, but you've already got that ceiling with Myles Garrett. So you put Ferrell in there, or Ferrell rather, and he can comfortably sit there as that number 2 pass rusher. I feel very confident in what you're getting in Clelin Ferrell. He is technically refined. Plug him in right away, but he's not going to bring you the same upside of a guy like Brian Burns or Josh Allen. So it's a perfect fit for Cleveland. They're ready to win right now. So you put him in there, and all of a sudden you've got probably a top 5 pass rushing duo. Then we got number 18 here, the Minnesota Vikings. What I'm looking for here is versatility along the offensive line. It's either Cody Ford or Dalton Risner. I don't think you can really go wrong with either one. I'm going to take the higher upside pick here, Cody Ford. So you can either play him at guard or tackle, wherever things play out in camp. But Cody Ford, an excellent pick here for the Minnesota Vikings. I don't expect a lot of disagreement there. You got to buy more time for Kirk Cousins, who frankly needs it. And then number 19, the Tennessee Titans. Would have loved to trade down here, honestly. Just not a lot of trade-ups made a ton of sense. Thought about wide receiver, but so much value in the second round at wide receiver. Tennessee can probably wait there. You could go with a corner, but I don't know how much of an upgrade DeAndre Baker is actually to what you have currently. So we're going to go with Dalton Risner. He's going to play guard for Tennessee, but his kind of tenacity and aggression in the trenches pairs really nicely. I would stick him right there next to Taylor Lewan and just let them intimidate people. the interior of this offensive line took a massive step back. If you remember, the 3 guys on the inside there really played above their pay grade a couple years ago when they brought in these guys from free agency. Well, they're getting older and kind of regressing to the mean there, and it's really been a liability for Tennessee. So you buff that up with Dalton Risner. I don't know if I'm saying that right. You've seen now with Indianapolis in that division what beefing up your offensive line can do, especially when you're playing the Jags and the Texans twice a year, who have excellent pass rushes. So just don't get cute here for Tennessee. You get a high-caliber starting guard there. And the number 20, the Pittsburgh Steelers. We've gone with this pick in the past. We're going to stick with it. DeAndre Baker, just a solid corner. Can play inside and out, has ball skills. Frankly, the only corner left in this class that I would consider a first-round talent. Probably not going to get a lot of argument there from that pick for the Steelers. So let's just move on. Number 21, the Seattle Seahawks. Now, it's going to be an interesting pick here. I know it's a what I would do mock here. I don't know if this is necessarily what I would do. We're talking about Montez Sweat here for the Seattle Seahawks. Now, I've named him the biggest bust in this class. Well, that was before we ran a 4.42 and weighed in at 260. A big concern for me was he was listed at like 245 at 6'6". Had questions about his work ethic in the weight room. Had no idea he was 4.42 fast and he was athletic. So I'd be pretty dumb to hold on to that 3rd, 4th round grade I had on Sweat. Now he's up to that 1st, 2nd round. I see the upside. I still don't love his tape. He resorts to one pass rush move. He needs to land in the right spot where he can get coached up. He needs to become a more diversified pass rusher, in my opinion, if he's going to be worth a first-round pick. He should be a monster in run defense, no matter where he lands. But if any team is going to take a guy like Sweat and turn him into that high potential, capitalize on that high potential as a first-round pick, it's going to be Pete Carroll and the Seattle Seahawks who do this with players like Sweat all the damn time. So he's got to go somewhere in this first round. I think Seattle is the perfect fit for Montez Sweat. I'm now willing to admit that he has some serious upside. I just have major doubts on how many coaches in this league can capitalize on that. Well, I'll bet on Pete Carroll to be able to do that, just like he did with Frank Clark, who had similar questions coming out. The Baltimore Ravens, this pick just popped off the paper for me. There's a lot of picks here in the back half, the last 10 picks here that I'm really excited about and could totally see happening, but I would also make myself. Devin Bush here, the Baltimore Ravens. Now, I think they will keep C.J. Mosley, but we know where Coach Harbaugh's priorities are going to be here and what this front office likes. They like Baltimore Ravens. They have the same mantra that Jim Harbaugh took to Michigan, to be a Wolverine. So I think Jim is going to tell John, yeah, Devin Bush is the perfect culture fit for what you want. He's going to be a rangier version of what you got in C.J. Mosley. You bring C.J. Mosley back, and you have an elite linebacker tandem right up there with the Carolina and Dallas Cowboys of the world. I've been saying that any mock with Baltimore going wide receiver, they could go wide receiver, but when your quarterback doesn't throw to your wide receivers, what's the point of spending a first-round pick on receiver? You might as well go where your strengths are, bring in a perfect fit like Devin Bush, who's going to make your defense even better. So the number 23, the Houston Texans, easy pick here, Jawan Taylor. This team desperately needs offensive line help. They're frankly a little lucky to have a guy like Jawan Taylor fall to them. He's got some question marks, but certainly belongs in the first round, especially to a team like Houston who just has got to buy more time for Deshaun Watson. I get that he can do some great things, but you want to talk about longevity and being more consistent, they need a better offensive line, period. I don't think any Texans fan is going to disagree with that. Number 24, the Oakland Raiders. Sticking with the theme here, just going best player available. I've had them going Greg Little here in the past because it is a need, but there's question marks there. I just want safe, stud players who can start and just help, bring more talent in here. So Noah Fant for the Oakland Raiders. You can bring Jared Cook back if you want or let him go. Either way, you can play them both. This dude is a total freak. He even blocks, and try to get him to be like your George Kittle on the opposite side of the Bay Area. Derek Carr, not exactly known for being a vertical passer. He's got the physical ability to do it, but he is a check down king. So having a target like Noah Fant who can get open in those short throws and have some catch and run ability, it's going to be a great weapon for Derek Carr to help this offense get going a little better. And if you want a wide receiver, you should be able to get that with your 4th pick in the 2nd round, because I don't think Noah Fant will be there. And then number 25, where Miami traded down, possibly my favorite pick here in the draft, the Miami Dolphins. They've kind of made it clear that they sort of just want to tank. Well, what better to do that than trade down, get a future first-round pick, and then still end up with a player that in most drafts would be a top 10 pick, Jeffery Simmons, recently suffering an ACL, so will not be able to play in the next season, at least until like week 15 or 16. Just a stud defensive tackle. This is also a need. God, do I love this pick, because it's going to help you lose games this year and win games in the future by getting an absolute monster. Basically getting the same value that you would have at 13, but then you don't even have to play him to help you win games this year. It is absolutely perfect. Jeffery Simmons, one of my favorite players in this entire class. And then number 26, the Indianapolis Colts. We're going to go with Nasir Adderly here. Some people want to say he's Earl Thomas. I completely disagree. I think he's bigger, plays a little more physical, doesn't have the same range that Earl Thomas has. My comparison for Nasir Adderly, a safety out of Delaware, is Malcolm Jenkins, who is one of my 5 favorite players in this league. He can cover like a corner. He is an excellent tackler. He's physical, great ball skills. You put him in the box underneath Malik Hooker and just let them go to work, because that is going to be one of, if not the best safety duos in the entire league right there with Chicago. And then number 27, Oakland Raiders. Again, just trying to go with the best player available. I had a kind of a hot take on Twitter. Quick plug, follow me on Twitter at TFG_football to stay up to date on my football takes. But Chauncey Gardner Johnson here for the Oakland Raiders. A nickel back, nickel corner, strong safety out of Florida. My take was this is a better version of Minkah Fitzpatrick. Comes out, runs a 4.49 today, so he proves that he's just as fast, but I think he is more physical, better ball skills, better tackler, and more natural at that position of nickel corner. The Dolphins tried to stick Minkah Fitzpatrick at outside corner this year. He really struggled. Minkah's a really nice player, and I really liked him last year. But I think Chauncey Gardner Johnson's flying under the radar in a league where nickel corner is a starting position, and this is going to become more and more of a trend, seeing these nickel back guys go in the first round. And this is a huge need for Oakland. Just an absolute baller. Add some speed to that defense. Good tackling ability. Can contribute in coverage and in run defense. Would be a great instant spark plug for that defense. And you pair that with Josh Allen, you walk out of the first round. Not a bad grab for the Oakland Raiders. Number 28, slam dunk pick here for the LA Chargers, Dexter Lawrence. This is basically the only need left on this team, other than maybe another linebacker, is a run defending nose tackle, and Dexter Lawrence is one of the best ones to come out in years. The only reason he's falling this far is because I think this is one of the most talented first rounds in a long time. I know people are used to hearing that every year, but I genuinely think this is a better class than we've had the last couple of years, at least in the first round. Dexter Lawrence is just a freak. He bats balls as well, but he's going to be a monster in run defense. We saw what the Patriots did to this team in the playoffs. Well, Dexter Lawrence is going to help that not happen again, which is exactly what the Chargers need. So the number 29, the Kansas City Chiefs. For me, the value just wasn't here. I looked at some of these safeties, cornerbacks, even offensive line, and I just didn't love the value here. So I looked down just, into the next 10 picks or so to see if anyone might want to move up. And something kind of clicked here. How about the New York Giants moving up here to get Drew Lock? It wouldn't cost that much. You're only moving up about 9 spots. So you're going to give up probably a 4th rounder and maybe a future 4th. It wouldn't cost that much. And I keep saying this about the Giants. Giants fans are going to comment in this video. They do it relentlessly. Why would we take a quarterback this year? Next year's class is better. Well, it does not work that way. We already gave you Ed Oliver here at 6. You got Saquon Barkley, Odell Beckham. This team is trying to win games this year, and frankly, I think they will win 6 or 7 games. You're not going to have a top 5 pick. So you can either give up the capital now to get a quarterback, or you can do it in the future. And you're certainly not going to be looking at the top 2 guys, in my opinion, whether that's, Jake Fromm or Jacob Eason or Justin Herbert. I haven't done my due diligence on those guys, but you're probably, best case scenario, looking at the 3rd or 4th best quarterback in that class. What's the difference between that and Drew Lock? Is it that different? I don't think so. Drew Lock is a physically gifted player. he could come in here and sit for a year behind Eli Manning. And then in a year, when he's more ready, you pair him with Odell and Saquon, the surrounding core you've been trying to build here. And he could very well turn into a really nice player here for the Giants, a Matthew Stafford type of player. It's a guy that, didn't put up the best tape in college, but he does have all those physical abilities. And then the Chiefs at number 6 could go with like an Elgton Jenkins or a corner like Julian Love. They're going to have basically the same picks that they would have had here, and then they pick up some more picks down the road. And then number 30, Green Bay, and this is a pick that I kind of had on my radar as well when we passed on edge rush at number 12. Chase Winovich, edge rusher out of Michigan. I actually really liked his tape, but I had him as like a 3rd round grade because I did not think he was very physically gifted. Well, he comes out the combine, runs a 4.59, incredible agility scores, but it wasn't just the scores in those tests. You saw him on the field looking like one of the smoothest linebackers in this class in terms of coverage. Green Bay dropped their edge rushers into coverage more than any team in the NFL last year. He's literally a carbon copy of Clay Matthews. It's not just the long hair being a white dude, guy that kind of had to fight for reps at a big program like Chase Winovich did. He legitimately is a similar size and athletically very similar to Clay Matthews. So you just kind of rinse and repeat there. And can't you just picture him in a Green Bay jersey? I think it's a great pick here. Could even bring Clay Matthews back and kind of coach up Chase Winovich a little bit on how to be the next Clay Matthews. And then number 31, the LA Rams is a team that, it's no secret, has shown a willingness to take risk. And this is a player that at my last mock draft I was very high on, Ja'Kai Polite out of Florida. Well, all reports are he kind of bombed his combine. He was really standoffish in interviews. Seems to have kind of made up an injury, bailed on his workouts. A lot of people not very impressed. I also thought it was interesting that he's kind of gained weight and was an inch taller than he was listed at Florida. So you got a lot of question marks here, but his tape is phenomenal. He looks like Melvin Ingram on tape. So the Rams have a big need at that edge rush position, and they're going to just kind of swing for the fences here, trying to have the best team possible before they have to pay Jared Goff and this whole thing comes crashing down. Also, frankly, not a lot of big needs and value here outside of this pick, so it's kind of a no-brainer for me. And the number 32, we are saving the absolute best for last, hopefully paying dividends to those that have watched this entire thing. The New England Patriots are going to trade the 32nd pick to the Arizona Cardinals for Josh Rosen. So the Patriots get their quarterback of the future, still have 4 cheap years of control, so he's not going to hinder their ability to continue to win with Tom Brady, and he can develop with Bill Belichick and probably be the next Tom Brady because he has all of the physical tools to do it. He's a smart quarterback. He's not going to bitch and moan in New England. He's going to understand that if he does things the right way, he can have a great career there in New England. And then for Arizona, what do they do with the pick? You're going to draft Kyler Murray's best buddy from Oklahoma, Marquise Brown, that deep threat to pair with Kyler Murray, a familiar face for your rookie quarterback. Just an exciting end to the first round, an exciting end to this mock draft video. So if you made it this far, I must have kept you entertained. Please, the least you can do is hit that like button. If you want to go beyond that, check out my Patreon. It's patreon.com/ThatFranchiseGuy. You can get access to my full draft board. You can get access to my film breakdowns, not just of the draft stuff. We'll be doing NFL film breakdowns over the summer, over the regular season. But at the very least, seriously, please hit that like button. I'll talk to you guys in the comments. Looking forward to it. Like I said, this is one of my favorite mock drafts I've ever done. So I'm looking forward to hearing from you guys. Peace out as always, and we'll see you next time.